Hey everyone, this is Vivian, your host, and welcome to a new episode of the Imperial Advantage, a podcast where we share the real-life experiences and accounts firsthand of the individuals whose lives have been transformed by the work of Grandmaster David over the years at Imperial Harvest. So here you get to hear real stories from real people and their real destinies. Today we have a very special guest with us, Anthony Yeoh, who is currently serving as the Chief Compliance Officer at Finmo. So let's get right into it.
Hi, thanks Vivian, and thanks Master David for having me today. Very happy to be here.
Okay, so I've done a little bit of due diligence on you, as you would say, to speak a little bit of your lingo. Okay, so I've noticed that you have quite the interesting and varied career trajectory over the years. So could you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I guess if I were to start off very broadly, I had my first career back in the army when I was a professional soldier for 6 years. So after that, I decided to take the plunge, to join the private sector. And one of my first job was a banker, right, in one of the local banks in Singapore. Did well, pick up all the financial services. Basically gave me the blueprint, I think, or the foundation as a way into the, private sector, civilian life, like what we like to call it, right? And from there on, various roles emerged and all the way up to today, where it's been about 16 years now in total. Whereas my current role as the Chief Compliance Officer for this treasury and payments company called Finmo.
Okay, so you have been in the workforce for over 16 years, 16
that is
years
in
at
the
this
private
point.
sector.
In the private,
if you count
okay.
the military side, so it's about over 22 years.
Oh wow, okay, so with such a long career and that spans more than 2 decades at this point, when would you say you started your journey with Master David?
I think if I can recall correctly, it will be around 2017, right? Again, it's quite interesting in the sense that back then it was like the era of Facebook. Yes, I'm that old. Era of Facebook and stuff. So I happened to chance across an advertisement, right, on Facebook itself where it say, hey, Imperial Harvest, Feng Shui, premier Feng Shui consultancy in Singapore. At that point of time, I wasn't doing bad, but I wasn't doing that, excellent either. So I thought, hey, maybe it's time for me to, have a change, right?
Okay.
So, I just thought, just go down, let's have a chat. You never know what you'll come across. And hence, I reached out, made an appointment, and then, got in touch with Master David, and that's where the whole journey started back in 2017.
Interesting. So just let me rewind a little bit. So because I understand that there are multiple Feng Shui practitioners in Singapore, right? So of all the practitioners out there, what made you decide to go with Master David?
I think, again, at that point of time, the way the advertisement, they put it across, it doesn't come across as, I'm just trying to sell you another a feng shui object or remedy or whatsoever. But it's really more about, coming here to understand, right? Whether in terms of your bazi, in terms of your life's chart and path forward, it's something that, hey, this guy seems to talk sense, right? Again, back in 2017, 9 years ago. So I thought, what can I lose? Maybe an hour of my time. Right. So I said, okay, let's take the plunge and let's go and check this out. If it's legit, then it's good. If it's not, then, we'll move on. Then I'm actually quite, happy, right, to date that I actually took the decision then to actually, reach out and, have an appointment with him.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to make things a little bit more lighthearted first.
Okay.
So break the ice and get everyone comfortable. What were your first impressions of each other when you first met 9 years ago?
Wow, I think 9 years ago, that's a very long journey. I think when I first met Anthony, I think back then, like what he mentioned, right, he wasn't doing that bad. I think at a point in time, he was a compliance manager in a firm. I could recall it's Aiden.
Yeah.
My son's name is also Aiden.
Nice.
So I think, and I think back then when he was working there, I think everything else was pretty okay. I think if you want to use the word stagnant, I probably wouldn't use the word stagnant. I think at the point in time, because payments industry, right, wasn't that hyped thing back then in 2017. It was still a relatively new industry. And I think at the point in time, Anthony was as a crossroad of his career. I think he was wondering, hey, should I continue this path of payments, in particular in compliance? Because, you know, compliance isn't that kind of a very sexy job title.
Yeah.
And I think most people, first impression of compliance is very rigid. There's a lot of bureaucratic, there's a lot of red tapes. And I think that was when I think Anthony found us. And I think he wanted more than just a career direction, which is what most of the Feng Shui practitioners would have done. I think he wanted something different. I think the question that I think we also raised to him is, hey Anthony, how would you like your career trajectory to be redesigned and re-engineered? Because Imperial Harvest, the way we practice Feng Shui is a bit different. We look at Feng Shui from the perspective of destiny engineering. We ask ourselves, how far can we push the client to scale greater heights in their career, to go to unprecedented levels in their career, and not just in their career, but in different aspects of their life as well. So I think that sparked the first conversation, and I think, to my impression, I think how I found and remembered Anthony back then, he was very ambitious. He wanted more in terms of his career accomplishment, and I think back then, he already harbored a dream to move his family to a landed home. And I can still remember back then, that was a very, very memorable conversation. He asked, Master David, right now I'm staying in this place. It's an apartment, and I think eventually I hope that I can move my family to a landed home. I think it's a very, if you think about it back then, I think it was considered a stretch goal for him. Definitely a stretch goal back then, because nobody would have thought, compliance manager, in a firm can get to a landed home, right, in 9 years' time. So if you look back, wow, this 9 years arc has been a relatively amazing and transformative arc for him. So that was how I remembered Anthony back in 2017.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing all that. It's quite enlightening. So, Anthony, what about yourself? First impressions of Master David?
So I would say that, to be very honest, the first impression I had of him during the first meeting was, he's very young. not in the bad sense, but usually when you say, Feng Shui masters, right, you get this image in your head that, some old, elderly master who has been there 20, 30 years.
I get what you mean.
But then when you met him, it's like, he's a young fella, right? Does he know what he's talking about? Right. But as the meeting progresses, I think the perception and the understanding of him change, right? He does comes across as knowing what he's speaking about, right? Backed by, I think, 3 generations of his family's experience.
That's correct.
Which then, by the end of the session itself, I was like convinced, right, that this master talks sense, and the way he put it across, maybe, if I draw parallels in a compliance world, you need a lot of black and white, you need a lot of written, and everything must be presented very properly. And that was what I got from him, right? In the sense that he presented the Imperial Feng Shui, or the concepts of Feng Shui, in a manner that makes sense to me. It's not like some, jumbo mumbo, where you think that, buy a remedy, put it here, good energy will come. It's not that. He actually went through a very detailed analytical analysis of, this is what you do, this is the fire pillar, this is your earth hour, and things like that, which again, 9 years ago, I didn't really know much of Feng Shui, right? But when you hear and see, it's actually very structured, very analytical, which kind of like related to the compliance brain, right? You say, he's talking sense, and then it relates, right? It's not some, again, elderly master trying to sell you some stuff. So I think that's the impression. Young, but as the meeting progresses, becomes like, he really talks sense, he knows his stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm latching on to that. So I find it quite interesting how what I think got you to really put your trust, I would say, in Master David is the fact that he not only knows what he's talking about, he also presents his knowledge in a very structured and analytical way. And because you sound like a very logical person yourself, so you appreciate it when someone kind of speaks your lingo in a way. So I think that's where the connection, and you feel like you can relate to this person, and you trust that he can help you achieve your goals and ambitions.
Of course, sorry, so just to jump in, of course, at that point of time, being a first time meeting, you wouldn't know whether it works or not, right? But then I guess I went with like gut or intuition or the vibe check right now. That's what people are saying. The vibe seems right, and then he comes across as someone we can talk to, relatable. And then that's why I think from there the trust deepened, and then our journey progressed.
Wow. Okay.
Started from there actually. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so over the last 9 years, how many are you able to count the number of times you have visited Master David?
Wow. I would think that over 9 years, probably close to 20, about 18 to 20, at least twice a year, right?
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is like face-to-face, I think, visits itself. But sometimes where there are certain matters that came up
Okay.
that require certain like consultation or even just a friendly advice, right? Or just, I'll ping him and say, hey, Master David, what do you think of this potential new job, right? Or I'm looking to move house. What do you think of this plot of area?
Oh, okay,
things like that. Or even small stuff, right? Hey, things like, should I go for a holiday? At this time of time and period, because, but this period is not so good because, health may be affected, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the small stuff, he's always very patient, very willing to answer all these, small queries and questions.
Oh, okay. It sounds like you also are the kind of person who really wants to optimize your life and the opportunities that you might be getting in life. So from the sound of it, you were also actively consulting Master David from the first meeting in 2017 and then for various career moves and how that can help you inform the decision.
That's right.
So I believe at one point you also made a very bold leap, I would say, out of your industry. I think you left the payments industry for the cryptocurrency world, right? So could you share a little bit more about that? So cryptocurrency is not something that is not known anymore, but I would say for most people, it's still this frontier that no one really knows very much about. So could you share more about how you decided to leave the safer world of payments behind and make that leap into like a brave new world?
Okay, sure. I think that will be around 2019, 2020, where I think crypto was like booming and everybody was talking about crypto and what is it? Is it a scam? But is it you can make a lot of money and things like that? But for me, if I look at it as from a career perspective, as a compliance professional, I've always been in the traditional payments, your fiat side of things, right?
Okay.
AML and all those KYC and all those stuff. Right. And then at the point of time it emerged, then there was opportunity, right, to join the dark side, like what I like to say, right? Because there was a bit of unknown, right? People are like, you as a good compliance officer, why do you want to take the leap to try something new, right? But then for me, at that point of time, the thinking was, if I'm going to continue down the path of being a compliance professional, I should make it a point to, learn more about all aspects of the compliance, function. Which includes to me at this point of time, at that point of time, it includes like knowing more about crypto compliance, right? Crypto compliance is the logic or the principle is the same, right?
Okay,
but
okay.
the ways it's being addressed is slightly different. Through that journey, right? That's why I learned things about, you talk about on-ramp, off-ramps, what is blockchain analytics, all these terms that if I continue to stay on in the traditional fiat side of things, it's probably, at that point of time, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't have knowledge, right? But people think, even till today, people still think that crypto is very much used by scammers and illicit activities and things like that. The answer is you can only know it after you join the industry. And you realize that there's a lot of people doing the hard work and the good work in fighting financial crime. Right.
Yep, that's true.
Financial crime exists in both the traditional fiat and also the digital asset side. But only by joining that itself, I had a first-hand knowledge, right, of how it looks like, and becoming a more well-rounded compliance professional. Right. After that itself, so that itself was a very good move, if you ask me. But coming back to at that point of time, when I received the opportunity, I was like at a crossroad. Right. Do I go for it or do I not go for it? Right? Because is it a good step? Is it a step in the right direction?
That's
Hence
true.
again, hey, Master David, got this opportunity. It's in the crypto space. What do you think of it?
Oh, okay.
So I think that's where he helped me to look at the opportunity itself. And
Okay.
eventually say, okay, it looks good. You can go for it.
Wow.
And that's why I took the plunge.
Wow. Really, thanks for sharing that. Now, that is a very interesting career journey.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask, right, because at that time, no one especially in Singapore, no one has much knowledge of crypto and everything. So for yourself, Master David, how did you make that decision, or not say decision, rather that recommendation to Anthony? Because I would imagine crypto was also new for you, and we didn't live in an age of AI as we do now. So it would have been something new for you as well. So could you share more about how you actually assessed this opportunity for Anthony?
I think for Feng Shui wise, right, I think also Bazi, Feng Shui, everything has to also evolve with times because the economy, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, when Bazi was first, invented and the studies of Bazi begin to develop more deeply over the Qing dynasty, over the Ming dynasty, over the Song dynasty. You can see that the entire trajectory of the Bazi also has to follow the development of the economy. Why? Because, definitely a lot of the industry that exists today never existed 500 years or never existed 1,000 years ago. And that's where it puts the practitioner skills to the real test, because you have to advise your client into unknown territory. Trust me, 500 years ago, there will never be AI as well. There will never this term called artificial intelligence. Many of these terms never existed. But it really tests the practitioner's ability to apply his knowledge and how to adapt it to modern context, and also help your client to navigate into that unknown territory with confidence. So that's when the idea of like Imperial Feng Shui comes in, because we use different kind of like Feng Shui remedies, treasures to help our client to shift their energetic blueprint so that they will be able to find themselves good opportunities, good benefactors at different stages of their career. And also trust me, right, Vivian, I think probably if you ask Anthony, hey, 6 years ago, would it have made sense to you to make the leap of faith, jump into crypto? Probably not, because it's a very unconventional career choice. And you also never knew that whether this exchange would collapse or not, would it? Because they were at that point in time, many exchange couldn't survive. And you can know that, if you join a bad company, a root company, it would have been disastrous, because the truth is many of these crypto firms never lived through, never survived past 5 years, 3 years. Usually they run it and then they would collapse. So there's genuine career risk. And definitely when I advise Anthony, we have to look at it not just from Bazi. We use a myriad of tools in metaphysics, I Ching, Qi Men Dun Jia, everything else to help him to divine the outcome. And through the divination itself, then we'll be able to know, okay, is this path clear, safe, and would it help him to pave the next career movement for him? Because if you look at Anthony's career trajectory, after Luno, he joined Finmo. And this is the first time he take on a C-suite role. And you can see that opportunity came about also partly because he had this experience, not just in traditional finance, but also crypto as well. That gives him the full spectrum of perspective, especially when he joins this new company that manages treasury solutions as a fintech company. So all this kind of thing, everything helps, because in a treasury function, it's like you're operating like a bank, helping companies to manage their own funds, the internal funds. And of course, this kind of function itself is very complex and requires the compliance officer to learn and to relearn and to unlearn what he has previously acquired before. So Anthony's career trajectory, if you've seen how it evolved over the years, with good feng shui, good benefactors, good opportunities coming up, you can see how his learning trajectory has evolved. From just a guy who's in the traditional finance, doing payment solutions, SaaS, and then moving on finally to crypto, and on his eventual role as a CCO. I think it's a very, very unique trajectory. And that's why I say that, as a Feng Shui master, you have to know how to apply your knowledge in evolving context. This is why I always tell people learning is something very, very important. I think as a Feng Shui master, I constantly learn new things, and I also constantly unlearn some of the things. I think there was also a conversation, Master David, I think maybe also just to share a bit things about myself. Master David, do you attend courses or seminars from other practitioners? I can also tell you that, yeah, we do. In fact, I send my staff to attend all the practitioners, all the different practitioner courses and all this kind of stuff. And people ask me, hey, how come you need to learn from other people? I thought you already learned everything else already from your father, from your grandfather. It doesn't make sense for you to still continue to learn from other practitioners. I always tell people, in Chinese, there's a beautiful idiom that summarizes this called 海纳百川. So a good Michelin chef always visits other Michelin starred restaurants to taste, to understand the cooking technique. From tasting the food itself, they are able to appreciate what other practitioners do. Now, you'll be too arrogant to assume that you know everything from your dad, from your grandfather, and then after that, you just decided to, say that 我是天下无敌. It's not possible. I think for me, learning is very important. And I learn not just through my own family lineage, but I also learn through other Feng Shui practitioners. This allows me to build a more robust, Feng Shui practice that can serve my clients, especially when my clients come from different walks of life. Anthony comes from the compliance space. I have clients who are realtors, financial advisors, different walks of life. So I can tell you that very safely, a Feng Shui master that stopped learning will definitely be a Feng Shui master that will retire eventually very fast and get, 淘汰, right, from this industry. So to me, learning is so powerful, learning is so important. And I think that has allowed me to serve clients at Anthony because his career trajectory is unheard of one. I think probably you've seen a platoon commander, a platoon sergeant, to today a CCO. If you ask his age 20 years ago, would he have imagined, this young man in the platoon, wearing a green uniform would become the CCO and living in a landed home today? Wow, he will be blown away by the trajectory because this kind of trajectory is not something that you heard of every day, right?
Very, very interesting thing. I really enjoyed listening to that. So I can see from this why you have developed this 9-year working relationship, so to speak, because he has truly, I think you've seen each other both grow and develop in both your careers and your lives. And I wanted to also touch on the topic of the treasures because I think this topic came up a couple of times along the way, and I noticed you're also wearing a couple of the treasures today as well. So how did you get started on this journey of treasures with Imperial Harvest?
Sure. So I think as per what Imperial Harvest has always set out to do, there will be the consultation where I think Master David will seek out to understand your dreams, your aspiration, what do you intend to do. And then, by analyzing your parts of chart, he can actually see that what is missing or what he needs to balance it out, right? Is my limited understanding. But from there on, then he will prescribe the accessory, the remedy accordingly. In fact, today I just thought, if I may, right, I brought the very first one.
Oh.
This is the Jedat Tua Pei Kong, right, which was the very first remedy that Master David prescribed for me back in 2017. And to be very honest, I still feel the most affinity with the Tua Pei Kong, even though 9 years has passed, right? I don't know, it's because there's a saying, right? 养育3年，育养一生, right? So with this, the close connection, the very first remedy that I've gotten, right? For now, I always felt very peaceful. But, whenever I feel that I want to achieve good success in certain activities, if I go on stage, I speak to audience, or I have an important meeting with the regulator and things like that, I always ensure that, I will have the Tua Pei Kong with me, right, at all times, right? So that itself from here, then over the series of years, after various consultation, additional remedies came aboard, right? I will always, tell him, hey, maybe I want to further improve my career, luck, right? They say, okay, maybe you can look at, your direct wealth, vault is what he mentioned, right? Okay. How you can then further expand the direct wealth vault through the use of the various remedies like agar wood, right? Then maybe next year onwards, we'll be like, hey, we're pretty settled on the direct wealth route because we are in a good position. Now, maybe I'd like to look at, the indirect wealth vault, right? And that's where then the additional remedies like sandalwood and all these things will come along. So all in, he doesn't really push, but in fact, he advises, right? Whenever things like, okay, what do you want at this point in time in life? And this is what you can do, and you can look at it. And each of the remedies will be able to help you to achieve that, your dreams, basically.
All right, so earlier we were talking about, I believe, in the Imperial Treasure, which is the jadeite Tuapekong. So I wanted to ask, right, what goes into the crafting of a treasure, Master David?
I think
Yeah.
when it comes to the crafting itself, it always begins with the source. I think in Imperial Harvest, we always begins everything with the source, starting from the sourcing of the raw jadeite boulder, then down to the design and the carving. Everything is all hand finished, handcrafted, hand finished. I think we place a lot of emphasis on that craftsmanship, the quality of the gemstone, because
Yep.
before we can conduct any rites and rituals to consecrate a piece of jade, agar wood, sandalwood, everything begins from the source.
Yep.
Which is why, when our client invests in an Imperial Harvest treasure, it is our duty, responsibility as a Feng Shui master to make sure that whatever Feng Shui cures that they procure from us is natural, authentic, unheated, untreated, so that when they wear it, they can see transformation, positive transformation, good energy. That's why I think if you ask me, right, there are also other Feng Shui practitioners. I think an inconvenient truth is some Feng Shui practitioners have a disdain, huge disdain, say, oh, you're just a practitioner that sell jade, sell crystal. I mean, what they miss is, hey, if you look at their practice, they would say that, oh, you can buy from outside. You can get it from elsewhere, anywhere else, doesn't matter. Placebos and whatever you call it, substitute, whatever you call it, commercially available cures. To me, I think personally, my own belief is that is not responsible. If you are a doctor, when you prescribe the medication, the medicine, you also have a responsibility to make sure that the medicine that you prescribe is of good quality,
Yeah.
and also has gone through proper rites and rituals, that has followed the traditions, the techniques, whatever steps and processes that has been inscribed in the ancient protocols. That is the hallmark of a responsible practitioner. To me, that's why when our client entrusts their journey, their personal destiny, their fortune to us, we take a huge pride in making sure that every single step of the way is well taken care of. From the design itself, the design has to reflect the practitioner, the master's intention, what kind of energy should manifest. That's why I think if you look at Anthony's first treasure that I prescribed for him is the Tuapekong. It's the career wealth god that helped him to pave his career path over the last 9 years. And he has been wearing it since then, and never left his body.
Wow, so interesting. Actually, out of curiosity, because I understand jade is it's quite delicate, it's quite fragile, right? And so because of that, it cannot be laser cut. It needs to be handcrafted. How long does it take from the raw material to the final product after it's gone through the rituals? How long does this process take to create?
I think a typical timeline that we are looking at from the carving,
The hand-drawn diagrams that you have, right?
Yeah.
Like, from there, you then pass it on to the masters to craft and things like that.
Yes, that's right. So usually I will first start off with the manuscript. I will hand draw the entire design. So after drawing the design itself, you'll be handed over to the master craftsman, and then they will begin to replicate the design on a piece of jade itself. So the entire carving process typically takes anything between 3 months to 6 months or even 9 months. Why
I
is
did not
that
expect that.
Why is that so long? Because first thing first, if you look at Anthony's piece of jadeite Tuapekong, there's a lot of details that goes behind the scene, goes into that piece itself, from the heads, from the facial expression, from the kailian, which is the mian xiang, down to the staff, the dragon staff, and the gold ingot, and the costume that Tuapekong is wearing. Every single aspect is important, and we take that into detail. And when it comes to polishing itself, we apply 2 types of polishing. One, you call it the matte. The other one, we call it the mirror.
Okay.
Basically, this kind of contrasting polishing technique takes a lot longer than the usual mirror finish that most of the jadeite found in other commercial shops would have demonstrate. They'll usually just apply a single mirror polish, because mirror polishing means you take the entire piece of jade and then you just put it under the polisher machine and polishing machine, and then you let it polish. The one that requires more skills is the matte and the mirror finishing contrast. So that's what makes it a lot harder to produce a piece of Imperial Harvest jadeite.
Oh wow. I didn't expect 3 to 9 months. That is actually a very significant amount of time. So each treasure is definitely it's basically personalized and crafted with a lot of care. Actually, Anthony, were you aware that
I
of
was,
the
you know,
process?
I think earlier in the days, right, in their Imperial Harvest website and their
yeah.
blog,
Okay.
I was quite a regular avid reader.
Okay.
I like to find out more. Again, I don't know,
Oh.
is it the compliance thing in me coming out or read? What do you mean by wealth gods, agarwood, sandalwood,
Okay.
jade, and all those stuff?
Okay.
So as part of it, he did share the you know the crafting process, which is why I roughly know he actually hand sketches the diagrams on
Okay.
the manuscript paper. And then through various iterations, once it's finalized,
Wow.
he then passes on to the master craftsman to do exactly like what he mentioned earlier. So I roughly kind of expect it takes that kind of timeline. But what I'm actually looking at is it also shows the kind of care,
Yeah.
commitment, right?
Yes.
By ensuring each of the pieces that they have, it's more of a bespoke,
Yes.
personalized, crafted for the individuals, right?
Yeah,
It's not
yep,
something
yep,
you can go easily. Oh, let me go to a shop outside and find, kind of similar. It's not, right. It's actually unique, one of a kind. That not just as a piece of artifact itself, but it's also what do you call that? It's able to harness all the energy because, as what he mentioned, it's through the raw materials that is
Yeah.
from the ground, fully natural. And I do find that resonates very well with, let's say, harnessing of energies, right? That can, be infused into the remedy itself, and then to be able to enrich the wearer, right, or the owner itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So over the years, I believe that you have accumulated a significant number of treasure over the years. So each of these treasures, I would say, serve a different purpose.
That's right, right. The intention is, again, I think, depending on, as we mentioned earlier, depending on what you're looking for at each stage of time. Maybe
yep.
sometimes it's to expand your direct wealth
Yes.
capacity.
Yep.
Sometimes to expand your indirect wealth capacity. Or generally, it's more, for example, I think I have about 6 or 7 personal remedy.
Okay.
At the same time, I also have about 3, what do you call the home remedies itself, in terms like the Jadeite Mountain, the crystal, as well as the white ink stone. I think that itself, the intention, right, is to bless the home, right, with good luck, harmonious relationship with your spouse, with your kids, with people around you, right,
Alright.
and generally to provide a more well-rounded, what do you call that, outlook, right, in terms of what you look at this. So if you ask me, I definitely say that is true, right, of those home remedies that has helped me, right, my wife, right, in our journey so far, right, and we actually look forward to even more as we
Wow.
move to the next phase in life, lah.
What a nice sharing. Okay, so I was just thinking, I think of what most people, especially for yourself, Anthony, when you first sought out Master David, it was to seek career advice and how to move forward, given the ambitions that you have and what you wanted to achieve, right? So at what point did you start to seek out Master David to go beyond the realm of like your career and wanted to incorporate maybe more Feng Shui into your personal life, your family, I would say?
Well, I would say that it's, probably after like the first 2 or 3 years, right? When you actually kind of see that, because some things takes time, right?
Yep.
I'm a practical person. I don't expect immediate overnight, things like, wow, straight away your boss says I'll give you 100% increment and stuff. It doesn't work like that, right?
Okay.
But I think things, you need to give it some time to work.
Yeah.
So after, 2017 to like the 2019 to 2020, right? After various career advancement, where each of the, each jump was significant actually, then you can see that it's actually really working. And not just on the compensation side, but the people that you met at each of the companies itself, I think they really play the 贵人 role.
Oh.
Right? It's what I feel. And case in point, I give you a very specific
Okay,
example.
please share more. Yeah.
Today, my current company, the founders of that company itself was from one of the previous company just before I went to the crypto asset. He was my direct boss, actually. So the current founder of this company, he was the direct boss of me back then before I went to the crypto exchange. So after, my period in the crypto exchange, one day he called me up, hey, I need a compliance officer, a chief compliance officer for this new startup. Will you be keen? I'm like, I never really wanted to leave him back then, but because the opportunity of the crypto exchange came up, I'm like, boss, I as much as I hate to leave you, but there's this opportunity I cannot give up, right? Because it allows me to venture deeper into the dark side, or at least learn more about that. Even after I've left, we remain on very good terms and kept in touch. And again, I like to liken it. He is one of my 贵人, right? Which I would not have come across him if, all the way if you trace backwards from the previous company to before I met Master David, things like that. So all in, I would say that having the, advice from Master David in terms of career, it's not just on like, work and career and stuff, but it permeates into the rest of the aspects of one's lives, right? Work, family, relationship, and things like that.
Okay, well, that's very, I think the word is serendipitous, when you left and then he called you several years later and then the opportunity just unfolds and just develops.
Exactly.
I think how would you describe the way your life has unfolded in these past 9 years?
The short word is, I definitely think it is, for the better, and it's on a, upward trend, right? Because sometimes I do, ask myself, right, what happens if back in 2017, I didn't, proceed to go ahead, right, with Master David and the journey, right? Sometimes when I look back, I ask myself that question, I'll be like, I probably will not be where I am today. I could still be maybe a senior manager in a bank somewhere, or, facing a terrible boss or whatsoever, right? So I'm always, grateful, right? I took the step back then. But more importantly, the availability of Imperial Harvest back then and the vision of Master David, again, not like a praise, but it's more like if he was not there, he didn't have this vision to create Imperial Harvest, right? I wouldn't have chanced upon it and I wouldn't have changed my life so much today, right? So I think everything happens for a reason, right? Everything happens for a reason. So yeah, so I think definitely to answer the question, it is, things have changed significantly for the better. And in fact, borrowing a line, right? Like Imperial Harvest tagline is prospering every generation, right? So it's also my intention is, as my kids grow older, right, I will also be, looking to bring them forward together with Master V on their journey, right, to help them with schoolwork and things like that. There's a lot of stuff. It's not just on our level, but our kids' level.
Wow. Okay, this is the first time the dimension of a generational growth and development has been brought up in this case. Actually, I'm very curious. So, Master David, what's your take on it? Like, watching your clients grow and then them bringing the next generation to you?
I think it's a very natural progression. That's why I think Imperial Harvest, since day one, I think we have took on a partnership model when it comes to working with our client and a journey-based consulting model, because I feel that true and real, genuine transformation doesn't happen overnight. Just like Rome is never built in a day.
Yep.
And if you can see how, if I were to digress a little bit, Anthony's life also overlapped with another client's life, because recently I had a chat with Anthony. So, who was the agent who sold the place? And then, and then after that, you were telling me, "Hey, Master David, do you know that the agent who sold my house is also your client?" I say, "Wow, how do you find out?" Like, because the agent went to my house and then he saw my Imperial Harvest treasures and he would instantly recognize this is the works of Master David. And after that, he said that I'm also a client of Master David. So that client is Eugene. Recently, I think yesterday, Eugene just shared with me that, hey, he got his 5th Prop Next Millionaire. And Eugene was a music school teacher. And you can see Eugene not only is a very, very successful realtor, he also helped Anthony to sell his place at a record-breaking price as well.
Yeah.
So you can see, our lives, when it comes to working with our client, it's not just, transforming one client's life. You can see how one client's life, when he got transformed, it can potentially overlap into other people's life and even other clients' life. That's why I think we see a lot of meaning in our work. It's not a one-off thing. It's a transformational journey And if let's say, for example, 6 years ago Eugene never come to consult me, he wouldn't have the opportunity to help Anthony make 1 million in capital gains when it comes to his property. So, and this 1 million capital gain allowed Anthony to move to his landed property. So you see, so many confluence of so many factors coming together. That's why I see this is the beauty of energy, beauty of Imperial Feng Shui, how everything can overlap together and produce what people, who don't understand Feng Shui, they would say it's coincidence, And I say sometimes when coincidence happen too often, I would say that this is, no longer just can be swiped off as coincidence. I would say this is real mastery, true skill set, and that can only produce predictable results. This is how we see it.
Wow. Okay. That it's quite mind blowing that because you went to consult him and then believe Eugene. Eugene, you might be next on the podcast. Okay. Then he consulted you, and then several years later, your paths cross and overlap, and somehow both interact in a way that lifts the other party up. It's so poetic. I find this is actually something that I think people might find hard to believe because it's, like I said, it's almost poetic as to how all of this has unfolded and how it has turned out. So from the sound of it, it sounds like Anthony, if you had the opportunity to meet some of Master David's clients as well. Is that correct?
Yes. I think what Master David has, have for the company is twice a year, there will be various Chinese New Year dinners and client appreciation dinners that they actually host at, places like the Shangri-La and, things like that to actually kind of a way to give back to the clients itself for supporting Imperial Harvest over the years. And I remember there was few years back, was it 2 years back or so, I was seated at that table, right, with another couple who was a new client of Imperial Harvest. I think it was a gentleman from Europe and a lady from Singapore, right? So this gentleman from Europe, he was well, I just got this remedy from Master David. I'm not sure if it works. What do you think? How long have you been here? Then I told him, look, I've been here for, back then 2 years, 7 years, right? And be like, wow, 7 years. You see? Yeah, I can tell you for sure right now, it's definitely working. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here after 7 years, right?
Yeah.
And then he was like, you look impressed, right? Then, that's one of the occasion I can remember very clearly where I was very happy to share my experience with the other newer clients of Imperial Harvest, helping them to see and give them the assurance that if you do believe in it, if you do believe in Master David's vision and Imperial Harvest itself, I think only the good things will come. Right. That's what I believe in. That is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, I think I'm also at a point I'm also a little bit mind blown because all of these things happen, and I also personally believe things happen for a reason, right? But it also sounds like Master David has also put a lot of care into not only engineering the destinies of his clients and of course yourself, but also in a way bringing the people together, and somehow the word is synergy, right? When you put 1 + 1 and then you get 3 or more. And I think it's quite beautiful that you've actually built a community, I would say. What got you started in bringing your clients together? Because I would say this is quite unusual in your field.
I think Feng Shui, since day one, I think a lot of time it has always been a very isolated kind of practice. Every client walks on their individual path. And I think that every year when Imperial Harvest we invest, I would say millions of dollars into our client relationship, and also creating and curating the kind of client experience. To us, all these are part and parcel of the journey, creating very meaningful, memorable memories worth relishing, cherishing for generations. I think all this count towards our commitment in our clients' journey, and making sure that our clients not only just grow, flourish, then they also get a chance to share the experience with clients from different walks of life. And I think sometimes when they get to meet, they get to network, when they get to share, they also find that, hey, wow, there are actually a lot of other like-minded people out there who also has a genuine intention to make a positive impact for the world and to create better lives for their families, who also come together to Imperial Harvest and have a shared journey with us.
Wow. That's really nice. Like, it's actually basically it's building something bigger than the individual, and generally just building a more positive environment, not just for yourself but for your loved ones, and meeting like-minded people to continue growing that community. So actually, out of curiosity, Anthony, so in your own personal life, do you talk a lot about Feng Shui or Bazi, or are you surrounded by folks who are like-minded and engage with you on this topic?
So I would say the short answer is not really. If you say in terms of work, in terms of people around me, it's pretty much the standard usual spiel, right?
Yep.
You engage, you talk about work, where to go for holiday and stuff like that. I'll probably say the answer is no. We don't really have a lot of association and things like that. But what I'll say is, what I've done is, I've also introduced my wife, right, to Master David, who she herself is also an Imperial Harvest client, right? On top of that, there's also my brother. Coming back to your question, I would say that not on a daily basis in terms of Feng Shui, association, all those stuff, but because I believe it works, right? So I like to bring that same kind of, share the good things, right? That's what they say, with friends and family who have also successfully become the client of Imperial Harvest, but more importantly, they also agree that it works, right? Even for the case of my wife, just to share a bit, although I know this more, she consulted Master David after, a few years after me, I think. She was, doing okay in her field, her company. But, after consulting Master David, year on year, she has received glowing reviews from her manager, right? In fact, I think a few years back when the economy wasn't doing well during the COVID days, a lot of people was, cutting headcounts and,
correct.
tightening belts. In fact, for that year, she actually gotten a never had before increment by her boss, who declared her, her performance review was exemplary. I don't know how to pronounce that word.
Exemplary.
Yeah. Correct, right? So it's like, we were just talking, at night sometimes, before you go to bed and stuff, we're just talking, right? Hey, do you think that this was possible without the help of Imperial Harvest? Both of us agree. If there was no Imperial Harvest consultation and remedy for her, it wouldn't have happened. So she herself has seen it. In fact, again, it's getting to friends and family already, right? My father-in-law, her father, actually also consulted Master David.
Wow.
So it becomes kind of it works. We want to share the good things with people around us. So I think that is more of the Feng Shui association, right?
Yes.
That we have on the friends and family side, rather than talking and with other people, right? Itself. Yeah.
No, I understand. I mean, obviously, you would want something that has worked so well for you to benefit your loved ones as well. And I would say it's not always easy to find like-minded folks in other spheres of life to engage and talk about this topic, right? And I think I wanted to ask this because I believe I've asked this to Master David before. So we live in Singapore. People are generally highly educated. Sometimes people are also quite skeptical, and then they would think, oh, if you are highly educated, if you are occupying such a position of power, occupying certain positions, why would you believe in and then consult like a Feng Shui master? Why do you subscribe to such services? And I wanted to ask, what is your take on that?
Well, I'll say, at least from my point of view, it doesn't matter like how highly educated you are, or how rich you are, or how poor you are whatsoever. It's really more about the the energies around us, right? We may not see it, right? We may not be able to put our hand on it and stuff like that. But personally, having walked through the past 9 years of journey with Imperial Harvest, I can truly say right, the kind of energies and the kind of help and support that I got from all this energy, although like invisible, if you will, it's really, really something that I don't think it's whether you're highly educated or you are a billionaire or millionaire could actually show for that, right? So my response to those critics and people who don't really believe it, in a way that it's fine. You don't have to believe it, but you need to know there are energies and higher powers out there, right? Again, not in the religious aspect, but in terms of energies, highest powers up there that could actually be the driving force, or be the multiplier that could help you to reach whatever you want to achieve in your life. Maybe you want to be a great doctor, you want to be the millionaire. Sure, why not, right? But having Feng Shui as your multiplier, I think will greatly shorten the time and effort needed for that itself.
Wow, okay. I find it interesting that you use the concept of Feng Shui as a multiplier to truly, I think the word would be expand and enrich and enhance your life. I think not just in a material sense, but also it's to gradually elevate where you are in life from point A to the eventual goal of where you want to get, right?
That's right.
So you have already shared your very inspiring and very rapid ascension for your career development so far. I believe, if you don't mind sharing, it has enhanced your personal life as well. That's why you have continued to consult Master David all these years, right? So let's talk about something that lots of Singaporeans are very preoccupied with, I would say, which is the topic of real estate. So I think for yourself, you had a little bit of a real estate journey over the years, right? So could you share more with what was the rough time frame, if you don't mind sharing, from when you moved into your first home to where you're at today?
Sure. I think back in 2015, right, me and my wife, we moved our first matrimonial home, right? So there was a BTO, like basically a lot of local Singaporeans we had and all that stuff.
Yep.
So we stayed a good 5 years there. Also, that was in the middle where I started consulting Master David.
Okay.
Because 2015, right, and then 2017 we started consulting. Then from there on, I think things just took off because we managed to, sell off our BTO back then for a decent price, and that's where we had the chance to move into our current, condo apartment today, right? Then from there on, having been here for the past 4 years now, right? We had the opportunity, right, to list the unit itself, right, and managed to close it at a very good price, right, which then finally led us to be able to look at, affording, freehold terrace, right, which again I remain very grateful, right, because I'm not born out of silver spoon and things like that. I had to work my way up, from the basics and all that stuff. So I always remain very grateful, right, for the help and support, right, from Imperial Harvest, from Master David, and all the, remedies and all the energies that has given me, the place to where I got to today. Again, it's not say everybody's journey different, but what I'm trying to say is it could be nothing to a very rich man, right? But for somebody coming from, a very normal background, right? Getting your first BTO, doing a condo, and then now moving on to a landed property is something that I always remain thankful and grateful for, right?
Yeah. That's a very nice way to share it. And I think that is a very efficient trajectory because most people, I would say, require multiple moves, right, in order to get the correct listing, the correct timing within the desired budget and location. There are so many factors that come into play because this is ultimately the biggest purchase of your life. And I believe that because I believe that your consistent consultations with Master David also, I think, help to time your selling and purchases of your various properties.
Yeah. I think it did help in terms of, in fact, I forgot if we covered this earlier, but the agent that actually helped us, right, with our sale was actually another client of Master David.
Yeah.
Right? So I think Master David earlier covered on
Yep.
this, right? So it's just pretty amazing on how, the association and all the the good people coming together, right? To achieve again, back to the multiplier
Yes,
thing, right?
right.
1 + 1 can give us 3. But in this case, two very, two clients who comes together and we actually managed to achieve a good selling price for us, but it's also helping the agent, right?
Yeah.
To achieve their own personal, work goals and things like that. So I think all in the association and the coming together is indeed, to me, how I look at it, is a force multiplier across many things. Again, not just work, but family, for personal and things like that.
Wow. That's quite a profound takeaway. Actually, Master David, how did you react when you found out that two of your clients met and then transacted together? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised because I think such coincidence, do happen in our day-to-day life, right? But I think when two of my very, very successful clients, they come together, and I think upon hearing the selling price, it also blew me away as well. I say, wow, and truth be told, there are so many new launches in Singapore, and I think it takes more than coincidence to pick the winning new launch. Because I think, Anthony, maybe you can share a bit more. Because back then, I think you have a lot of choices. What kind of new launch you should buy?
So many,
Back in 2021. So, what gave you the inspiration to pick your current condo that I think eventually yield more than $1 million in gains, in capital gains, right? So, maybe could you share a bit on that?
Sure. So again, a bit of a backstory, right? Is back then, yes, we did have a choice to decide between a cheaper 4 or 5 bedroom condo in in the northeast of Singapore.
Okay.
Your Punggol Sengkang area. So okay, that is definitely well within our budget. Or versus this current place of ours, which is along the the green line, right? So end of it, I think Master David did help us to see, and we kind of find that this particular unit where we are at now suits our family needs. But more importantly, the Feng Shui or the land Feng Shui itself was more beneficial, for me and wife and family. So that's why, back then, but the thing is, it's a bit more expensive, right? But then, we were thinking, okay, never mind, because empowered by Imperial Harvest and all the remedies, right? We still decided to take the plunge, although at that point of time, it was actually quite a stretch on finances itself, right? But still, because we believe in, the advice and the remedies and all those, that's why I say, okay, let's take the plunge and let's move forward, right? 4 years later, it has put us in a very favorable position, right? So again, it all comes back, right, to us trusting the process, trusting the remedy, and trusting the advice of Master David and Imperial Harvest.
Wow. And for your latest move, was it planned to be around this timing, or because you just happened to learn of the listing that you just saw?
So again, there wasn't a immediate need to move actually. I think most of us, right? Sometimes we just open Property Guru and whatsoever. We start scrolling all the right. And then there was okay, we went to see a couple of houses, but nothing really stood out, caught our eye. And then one day, this listing came up. I said, okay, this looks interesting. A bit out of budget, but let's still go and view, right? Nonetheless. So we went down, and then we immediately, when we stepped into that property, we were like, whoa, the vibe is good, right? We can feel the energy of the place, right? As cliche as it sounds. Then as we walk around, and then the agent was telling us, hey, we have put the house up since December, actually. But, there was one offer, but it didn't make it, and, whatsoever. That's why till 4 months later, right, you guys come and view, and then we found it to be, to our liking. And that's why immediately when we left the viewing, we gave Master David a call. We consulted him. Hey, Master David, what do you think of this? We are really keen and interested. He, did his analysis. And then on the spot, he said, okay, I think this is something you can look at, right? You can proceed, right?
Oh, virtually, is it? Or
virtually over the text and phone and stuff. So immediately that evening, we made an offer. I think even the agent was surprised. One viewing, less than an hour, immediately the offer came. And we did feel that house was kind of like meant for us, right? Because it's been there on the market since December. And in today's market, properties moves quite fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So it's actually quite rare that this house was there waiting for us for the past 4 months.
Yeah.
You know, we say okay and things like that. So yeah, we move forward. So again, it just keeps coming back. Sorry, I might feel, very naggy, but it just keeps coming back of we trust the process, right? We believe in the remedies and all the energies itself, which again, I think it really helps to propel us in the long run.
Wow. I think because of the nature of Feng Shui, right, it's a lot of like to borrow your phrase, trusting the process, and also I would say being patient, right? Because you ultimately, even though you have a goal that you're working towards, you also need to trust in Master David's work and that this will work out for you. So in that interim, right, when you have, let's say, both a remedy and there's a certain goal, right, you're working towards, there's a period of time in that process. So what would you do? How do you go about your day-to-day in that process?
Well, I'll say that it boils down to one thing, right? Having faith. Right? You must have faith in what you do. You must have faith in what Master David's work is doing, right? And then you leave the rest to time, right? Because some things cannot be rushed, right? Some work, you have to really give it the time that is due to deliver the great work. So, for example, I think what I understand from Master David in terms of let's say the crafting of the remedy itself, it can be sometimes a painstaking 6 to 9 months process. Of course, I'll leave it to Master David to share a bit more, but it's also all this, the care, the commitment, the kind of painstaking work that goes into it that actually shows, right, the kind of commitment that Master David and the team has, right? So maybe Master David, you want to share a bit more about, the crafting process of how usually a remedy would comes up?
I think crafting process itself, it always begins with looking at the boulder itself, and then after that we identify the parts of the boulder that is suitable for the carving of the jadite pendant, and of course we apply even more stringent standards on cabochons, which is the ring. So you can see later on, Anthony also has a ring, similar design to mine. This is the Bliss of Harvest Jadite ring that's inspired by 600 years of the Temple of Heavens. Anthony also was one of the first few clients who acquired this ring collection from ours when it first got launched. And a lot of time, I would say, every single aspect of our Feng Shui remedy, they are always, whether the design, the craftsmanship, everything is very steep in terms of its research. And we always make sure that whatever we provide for our client has very good results. Actually, I have something to share. Anthony, just like you mentioned about, you met this, Caucasian client with another lady who was sitting on the table. I recall who is that client lady. Actually, one of the Angmo guy that you met, his partner with Bain & Co.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. So, I think why he consulted me was, I think back then, he got into a lawsuit with his former employer. So his former employer, I think, came after him and then launched a lot of baseless accusations. And then he was very troubled by it. That's why he came on board. In fact, it was his partner who brought him here. And then his partner told him that, hey, you should consult Master David on this matter. And then after that, he managed to successfully, win the lawsuits against his former employer, and finally be able to move on with his practice in Bain & Co. And his partner, Angela, went on to start her preschool business. And recently we had a chance to work on the Feng Shui for her preschool business, which is called Oxford Preschool Explorer. And it's a very, very successful preschool. Angela was sharing with me how they did the branding, did the groundwork, met a lot of benefactors to help them start this preschool. And now they're starting to get to see very healthy enrollment in the preschool itself. And to go on to that further connection, right? Angela, she was referred by another Propnex client. So this Propnex client, she's currently a 6-time Propnex millionaire. So she was the one who referred Angela over, and very, very successful. And yeah, she's referred many clients to me because she saw the results. Because last time I think when this Propnex client came on board in February 2020, I think she was ranked about 400 plus in 2019. That was the year before she came over. And then since then, every single year, top 10 in Propnex. And Propnex has 13,000 agents. And for her to maintain 6 consecutive, top 10 titles in Propnex is incredible. So I think you can see how, one client lead to another, right? It's like a network. It's like a connection. And everybody meets each other. So for us, this is how Feng Shui works. I think when it works, people just keep on referring and keep on sharing.
Wow. So I know that people can see that Imperial Harvest spends a lot of resources on marketing, but clearly you have a very healthy number of clients who are also referred through via word of mouth. And this is definitely the most organic, the most authentic form of introduction, right? Because at the end of the day, it's quite difficult to get someone to really vouch for you, especially when it concerns their life, their livelihood, and their loved ones. And I think that really speaks to the kind of work that you have been doing over the years. How would you say it has been watching Anthony grow and develop over the years?
How is it like watching? I think it is more like a friend. Over the years, that client, advisor model has evolved into a friendship that builds on top of trust, builds on top of integrity, builds on top of honesty. This is not something that can be done overnight. Because for us, 我们每次讲日久见人心啊，路遥知马力，日久见人心。So to me, you cannot fix something over 9 years, 3 years, 7 years. You will blow your cover if you are not authentic. If your Feng Shui practice is not authentic, not built on the real lineage, nothing can last beyond a year or 2 years. For something to stand the test of close to a decade, it takes true mastery, skills, experience, and of course, to see through client through difficult moments and difficult times in their career. I think some people will ask that question. I think an inconvenient question they will ask is that, were there difficult times that Anthony have, stumbled upon during his 9 years of journey with Imperial Harvest? I can tell you 100% yes. Without a single doubt, there's moments of challenges, difficult times that he has entered. But I think it also takes determination, courage, wisdom from the master to see him through, those difficult and challenging times. We never give up on the clients. I think even Eugene, the client that he met, also had his fair share of challenges, rejections, disappointment, but we saw him through. I think that is what sets Imperial Harvest apart. We stand by our clients, we stand by the decisions, the advice, recommendations we gave them, and make sure that we see them through to their journey. This is something that I think it's what makes us different.
And I'll echo that itself, right? Because again, it's not in Imperial Harvest, it's not so much like a transactional base, but it's more like a partnership model, right? Like what Master David has said. It's really, we can count on Master David, we can rely on he and a team, right? To give us, certain guidance or certain support whenever the occasions calls for it, right? And that's actually shown itself over the years that we've been with him so far, right? So I think definitely as a partnership model, we do see, at least I do see, continuing the journey ahead with Imperial Harvest, again, down to my kids' generation and things like that, simply because it works, right? Right. And it's a partnership model that, we can continue this journey down the road together. That's my point. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really nice way, very heartfelt.
Yeah.
Very heartfelt way of putting it. Actually, I wanted to ask because both of you have known each other, basically friends really for almost a decade at this point. So when you go and have your one-to-one consultations, right, is it still at Master David's office, or will you go out to meet sometimes at like a hawker center and then just like for fun?
Yeah, I think generally, at least for me, I like to head down to the office because first of all, I think the office is a very nicely designed,
okay.
2 levels kind of a thing, and when you walk in, it gives you that fantastic energy, right? You get yourself, what they say, rub off the shoulders. You get association.
Okay.
So go in, and in Chinese they call it 吸点灵气,
Okay. Absorb.
absorb some of the good energies and
Okay,
stuff.
okay.
But generally, we will do that meeting,
Okay.
the annual reviews and consultations, right? But of course, for like property site visits and things like that, Master David and the relevant colleagues will hit down on site. That's where you actually physically go down there, and do this site audit. It's a Feng Shui audit on the site itself. So it's not just all in the office and I just say on paper you do, but it's also more on the interaction, on-site visits and things like that.
Wow. So how long does one of these on-site visits take?
I think it depends. I think usually, because I think we have seen thousands of homes over the years. We audited, boutiques like Panerai, JLC, PRJ, and work with hedge funds, banks, casinos. Typically, let's say for example, apartment takes about half an hour, to review the feng shui, and then of course we will generally produce a report to share with our client the findings. And normally it gives us a perspective what kind of energy blueprint requires to be activated to bring harmony, prosperity, success to the living home environment. So usually that's how we look at it. And of course on a typical annual basis, we also do our parts review with our clients. So this makes sure that our clients are always placed in good hands when it comes to feng shui, and we always take care of them, making sure that every step of the way, especially when it comes to anticipating any major moves, is always well taken care of.
Okay, so that sums up our very, very enlightening conversation that we've had today. Thank you so much, Master David, and thank you so much, Anthony, for spending the time we had with us today.
Yeah, I also like to take this opportunity to thank you, Vivian and Anthony, for taking your time off to do this Imperial Harvest Advantage podcast. I'm most grateful to Anthony for generously sharing his stories, anecdotes, and of course 9 years is a very long journey, and we look forward to many years ahead with Anthony as well and his family members who have been a client of Imperial Harvest, and also like thank him for sharing a lot of heartfelt stories, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, likewise. I think thank you, Vivian, and thank you, Master David, for giving me the opportunity to come here and share, right? Something new for me, but definitely I enjoyed myself today, right? And I wish everybody all the best as we go forward. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. So if you liked what you're hearing, please do check out Imperial Harvest on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So that's at Imperial Harvest on any of these 4 platforms. Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.